government wanted to like lower gasoline and oil usage and emissions. So they passed something called the CAFE standards, which regulated like mileage requirements and emissions on passenger cars. Notably though, this didn't include a category called light trucks, which at the time was like utility vehicles like this used by a very small minority of the population. So later on, CAFE standards kept getting updated, and they, based on vehicle size, they would have lower and lower requirements for emissions, which if you want to avoid emissions and like mileage requirements, you're incentivized to make bigger and bigger vehicles until you get vehicles that are basically the size of tanks.
As well as the foreign competition, no foreign competition for auto manufacturers due to the chicken tax, which put a foreign tariff on utility vehicles, which increased profits of light trucks versus normal cars in general, as well as the auto manufacturers not having to meet emissions, safety, or mileage requirements. This gave a huge incentive and encouraged auto manufacturers to increase their market in light trucks.
What are you guys showing on that chart there? Just so you can explain it.
That's the original F-150 on the left from like 1961, and then on the right is a modern day F-150. You can see how like the requirements of Americans didn't change, but the market for these trucks did, which is why the bed gets smaller, the cabin gets bigger.
But how could the automakers convince people to buy larger, more expensive, less practical, and less fuel efficient, and more dangerous vehicles?
Well, so you might think that's a stupid question. People obviously want to buy big trucks because they like going off-roading and towing things and putting a bunch of wood in the bed and carrying wood around. You're wrong and I hate you. 75% of truck owners use their truck for towing one time a year or less, which never. 70% of truck owners go off-roading one time a year or less, so never. And 35% of truck owners put something in the bed of their truck once a year or less, so never. And even among those that do, you'll find that station wagons from the 70s, like this, often have the same or more usable interior space as a modern day SUV.
So how did these automakers convince people to purchase these light trucks? Simple. The automakers focused all their energy on extremely large advertisement campaigns that were designed to appeal to their safety and the fragile self-images of Americans.
So here's a quote. When asked for attributes that are important to them, truck owners oversample and look good while driving, present a tough image, have their car act as an extension of their personality, and stand out in a crowd. Pickup trucks and SUVs were always originally marketed to self-obsessed losers. It's just a classic extension to the American desire we've talked about so much in this class to feel like a cool cowboy frontiersman who doesn't use their pickup truck to go grocery shopping in the suburbs. So Ford and other auto manufacturers spent like hundreds of millions or billions of dollars on advertising campaigns focusing on being cool, going out in nature with your SUV and it's so rugged, and you definitely don't grocery shop with this. And the No Loungers campaign is a perfect example of this. It's meant to make people feel like cool frontiersmen. And in the safety aspect, SUVs kind of often, the ads encourage aggressive safety over like actual safety. You see, this is a Jeep Cherokee ad which has like depictions of blood. If you're bigger and tougher than everyone else on the road, it means you're more safe. But obviously this marketing tactic, it actually makes people a lot less safe. So for an example, after seatbelts were introduced, car deaths went down, but pedestrian deaths went up. When people feel safer, they're more likely to take risks and be more dangerous while driving. And SUVs do the exact same thing. SUV adverts for like safety by being bloody and tough actually make everyone on the road less safe, including SUV drivers. Because, big shock, having a bigger vehicle doesn't inherently make you a million times safer. SUVs are way more prone to rollovers and often go straight over crash barriers. Okay, so people buying bigger and bigger vehicles, it's just creating an arms race. Nobody will feel comfortable driving like a tiny, like useful vehicle like this when there's cars the size of tanks on the road that will monster truck over you. So really, that's all working out great for auto manufacturers. SUVs are like significantly more profitable than tiny cars like this.
This can be seen through their market share, and SUVs make up 80% of new car sales in the US. And in 2023, the SUVs passed 50% of their market share. As well as from the years 2010 to 2018, SUVs doubled their global market share. So this strategy clearly worked. But how does all of this actually affect America as a whole?
So one way is that SUVs accounted for the second largest increase in carbon emissions, only behind the entire industry of power. So despite advancements in like efficiency and technological things that could be making carbon emissions from vehicles go way down, they're on the up and up and up because of SUVs, light trucks, and all these big vehicles.
And when comparing it to the top 10 highest emitting countries, SUVs rank number 5, only rivaled by Russia, India, United States, and China, way up there.
That's time.
Yeah, so another thing is like, I don't even believe in gas, I don't really care about climate change, but pedestrian deaths are on the up and up and up. Right now, pedestrian deaths are higher than they've been since the early 1980s, and a big part of that is because of light trucks. Larger vehicles have like these high hoods and like really poor sight lines in front of you. They make it really to run over a kid without even noticing he's there. And you'd be surprised how many pedestrian deaths are just because families run over kids right in front of them in their own driveway. So this is from 7-year-old data, but already SUVs account for a much larger increase than pedestrian cars and pedestrians killed. Nowadays, this would be like 6 times higher, maybe. And you can see a while ago in Europe, it was going down because they have a lot less light trucks. Nowadays, well, auto manufacturers do this in Europe too because it's very profitable. So the thing about this is that 70% of pedestrian fatalities happen in places with no sidewalks. This is like exacerbating problems with like social inequality through urban development. If you're born in a place with no sidewalks and poor urban infrastructure and you can't afford a car, you're stuck in a position like that. If you can't walk anywhere without dying, less urban infrastructure will be built and you'll be able to walk even less and have less opportunities.